माननीय सदस्यों से फिर आग्रह करूंगा कि आप बैठे बैठे टिप्पणी न करें, और माननीय मंत्री जी इनकी बेटी टिप्पणी को आप सुने नहीं क्योंकि कोई रिकॉर्ड में नहीं जा रहा है, और ये मैं अपेक्षा करूंगा बैठे बैठे कोई टिप्पणी न करें, नहीं तो मुझे नाम से पुकारना पड़ेगा।
I'm not a member of this house, but with your permission, I'm here because I have to reply, sir. So the senior member, Saugata Roy, should probably take that into his, system. Okay, thank you, thank you. Please recall your glorious days when you were trying to talk to me about onions, na? Recall those days, because you always had that approach to women in the house. Sir.
आप बोलिए ना, आप बेटे बेटे टिप्पणी मत सुनिए आप कोई।
Sir, the GDP of the US fell 0.9% in the second quarter, following a 1.6% decline in the first quarter, marking a start of what they call themselves an unofficial recession. There were some members who were saying, even Adirji mentioned, are we going into a stagflation? And will the finance minister please reply? I will first of all start with the last speaker, but the leader of the opposition here. There is no question of India getting into recession or stagflation. Adirji, you please be assured there is no question of us getting into either a stagflation or, like the US, they may say technical recession, whatever.
Please, Mani Sadash, please. No.
Sir, it is not just me, sir.
No.
A Bloomberg survey, which was done by economists, sir, has said that zero probability of India slipping into recession. So it's not just me saying. There is zero probability of India slipping into recession, even though there are several major economies who are in substantial risky positions of getting into recession. So again, because we are comparing, I start with comparing things which are happening globally and also position myself in telling about India. Bank and bank's health are equally important for looking at the economy and its situation at any point in time. Compared globally, 4,000 banks in China are reportedly on the verge of going bankrupt. I want that to be taken cognizance of by the honorable members. In India, the gross non-performing assets, the NPAs, of scheduled commercial banks has hit a 6-year low of 5.9% in FY22. So China, 4,000 odd banks are on the verge of going bankrupt, and our NPAs are improving. Sir, again on government debt. Government debt is one of the important criteria with which you measure the economy. The debt to GDP ratio of many countries are in triple digits. And that includes Japan, Greece, Italy, Bhutan, Singapore, US, Portugal, Spain, France, Sri Lanka, and Canada. Whereas the central government very consciously has controlled its debt, and it is at 56.29% of the GDP at the end of 21-22, compared to 59.9% pegged in the revised estimates for that year. So even from the revised estimates, we have brought it further down. So even when comparing the general government debt, which means the center and the states, India is in a far better position than its peers, according to the IMF data. It's not me saying it, with a general debt to GDP ratio of 86.9, which includes both center and states. So I just want to draw the attention of members. So globally, if the situation is pandemic, Russia, waves, second wave, third wave, and the Ukraine conflict and the disruption in the supply chain, if globally each country is in this situation, India's position, I've just given you some few comparisons. Today, sir, this morning, we have announced the GST collection for the entire month of July. July 22, we have garnered the second highest level ever since the introduction of the GST, which is 1.49 lakh crores. Second highest. And compared to the last year, this is one of the highest amounts. This year in April, you may be aware, I'd like to gently remind, in April 2022, it was 1.67 lakh crores, which was the highest reached. Now we've got in July 22, the second largest, which is 1.49. This is the fifth consecutive month that collections have been above 1.4 lakh crores. GST collections have been above 1.4 lakh crores consecutively for 5 full months. So the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, which has also come out only in the morning, I think, and it is at 8 months highest number of 56.4 for July. So the trend for output and new orders are strengthening, so the economy is really getting even more robust. The PMI rose from 53.9 in June. I said it is 56.4 in July, well above the 50 level, which is what shows it separates that there is no addition if it is below 50, but it has remained at 50 level, separating growth from contraction for a 13th month in a sequence. So India's 8 infrastructure sector, all of them grew in double digits for the second consecutive month in June. Data released for the month of June showed the core sector grew at 12.7% in June year on year. So strictly speaking, sir, Indian economy in every one of these aspects is showing very positive signs. I remind myself about the line Honorable Member Supriya Sule said, you know, it's enough, you can't be going on talking about earlier days. Now you've had enough number of time. She compared also very untypically to a married woman who enters the house. She gets to be a part of that house, and you don't anymore say we are new, whereas what has been there and all that. But in these kind of situations, where constantly questions are based not so much on facts, I'm not talking about Supriya ji alone, but in general, when facts will have to be reminded, because the way in which questions are being asked as though it didn't exist earlier. Even now, the leader of opposition said, please accept that inflation existed before the pandemic also. Inflation exists, sir. At what level is the question? So conceding to that point, I have no difficulty. Inflation exists. But at what level? And that is why, if you will pardon me, Honorable Member, I would like to go back to recalling. Let's not forget, for a small taper tantrum, I'm saying small today, of the Fed of 2008, the problem continued till 13, that the Indian economy became a fragile 5 country. But what are we today in? Pandemic, second wave, Omicron, India, Russia, Ukraine. Supply chain, even today, largest supply component suppliers around in China, still under lockdown in several areas. In spite of that, we have held the inflation well within 7 or even below. And that has got to be recognized. Oh yes.